everyone. Welcome to What Do You Believe? And we're happy and excited that you're here with us. And Michael, we're happy that you're here.
Thank you, David.
And Dr. Nagy, we're happy that you're here also. Dr. Nagy is a medical doctor and he's the fellow of the Royal College of Surgeons of England. And doctor, we've been talking about geology.
Yes.
And fossils.
Yes.
And we've discovered that there's billions of fossils all over the world, and that can easier, or it makes more sense to explain it with a sudden, huge event than over millions of years.
Exactly. So on this slide, we see that 95% of fossils are marine invertebrates, mostly shellfish. So these marine invertebrates are on top of a mountain. So they don't have escalator to take them to the top of the mountain, get fossilized. That means this mountain has been covered with water, and there was sudden death to these marine fossils, marine creatures, who died and became fossilized, and then the water receded down. And some people say that's a local flood. You find that in Grand Canyon, you find it in the Himalaya, you find it in lots of other parts of the world. So local, I think there is a general flood that can cover all of them. The rest really are plants, including trees and algae, and then less than 1% vertebrates of all kinds. So vertebrates that have the vertebral column, all the fossils of vertebrates are less than 1%. So that's just to give us a full view when we talk about fossils and what it means. Let me show you this. Let me show you this video again to explain fossilization, because I like really all of us here in the studio and our friends watching us to understand fossilization a little bit more in depth. So when we come to Noah's flood, we'll have more understanding. So let us watch this video about fossilization. I like this little video because it explains why we have fossils to start with. We should have death, number one, before the fossil can be fossilized. So death entered into the world because of disobedience of Adam and Eve. There was no death in the original creation of God. Death is an intruder. So death entered into the world, and there was the worldwide flood in Noah's time, about 1600 years from the date of creation. And as a result of that, there was a fossilization of billions of creatures all over the world. And that's what we found in the sediment layers as we examined them. Let me go back to Charles Darwin. And he said something about geology, and that's very important to understand. He said, geology assuredly does not reveal any such finely graduated organic chain. He expected that there will be evolution and there will be intermediates, and we should, when we dig deeper into geological strata, we'll be able to find intermediates to complete the chain. So he said the geology at his time does not show this sequence of events. And this perhaps is the most obvious and gravest objection which can be urged against my theory. His theory of evolution depends on presence of intermediates, but the intermediates are not there in the fossil record. The explanation lies, according to him, as I believe, that's Darwin, in the extreme imperfection of geological record. So what Charles Darwin is saying, there is not enough, or there is none of the intermediates in the geological layers. So he said, that's because we haven't studied geology enough at his time. That's more than 200 years ago. And he said, if we discover more geology, we'll discover more intermediates. That's his view. Let us see what happened next. But just in proportion as in this process of extermination has acted on enormous scale, so must the number of intermediate varieties which have formerly existed on the earth be truly enormous. So he is acknowledging that if really the evolution happened, we must find enormous number of intermediates. That's Darwin, according to his book, Origin of Species. Why then it is not every geological formation and every stratum full of such intermediate links? He's saying there is a big question mark from geology about the evolution theory. Let us see the situation at present. So Stephen Stanley, he wrote in his book, The New Evolutionary Timetable, in fact, the fossil record does not convincingly document a single transition from one species to another. And that was written in 1981. So he's saying there is no convincing evidence of intermediates in the geological column. Then let us speak to another person, Mark Ridley, and he's a geologist from Oxford University. And again, in 1981, he wrote this: the gradual change of fossil species has never been part of the evidence for evolution. Nobody talking about evolution goes to the geology to say, oh, there are intermediates here, so we should consider that. In the chapters on the fossil record in Origin of Species by Darwin showed that the record was useless for testing between evolution and special creation because it has great gaps in between. So there are two types of understanding: special creation, that's the biblical creation model, and there is evolution model. In the evolution model, you expect to find intermediates. The geological column does not confirm that at all. And these are people who are not Christians. These are scientists examining geology and saying we haven't found the intermediates. Let us come to the last quotation of this man, Mike Ridley. He said, the same argument still applies. In any case, no real evolutionist, whether gradualists or punctualists, I'll explain what I mean by that, uses the fossil record as evidence in favor of the theory of evolution as opposed to special creation. Now, in evolution, we expect to find millions of intermediates between creatures evolving and becoming higher and higher in the rank. They didn't find that. So they came with another idea, the evolutionists. They came with another idea called punctate equilibrium. Punctate equilibrium, that means for a period of time, evolution was very slow, and all of a sudden it jumps. Happened very quickly. And then becoming slow again, and then quickly developed with gaps in between. So that's why we see structures full in the fossils rather than the intermediates. So Mike Ridley is saying, if you are an evolutionist, either you believe in gradual or punctate equilibrium, you wouldn't use the geological column or the fossils in the geology to confirm your idea. Because I meet a lot of people saying, oh, but the fossils are millions of years. How can that will comply with the Bible? I think they haven't studied geology proper, and they haven't searched the subject deeper. So let me just give you a few examples of dragonfly. They thought it is 200 million years old. And this is the fossil. And this is the real dragonfly. So for 200 million years, according to them, I don't believe the figure, but according to the evolutionists, for 200 million years, there is no change. And according to evolution, things must happen during this length of time. Let me show you another one. This is a type of ants to have gone extinct. They believe it was extinct 15 to 20 million years ago, was found alive in 2006. So they think it is 15 to 20 million years ago was extinct. And they base that on the fossil record. Now they discover it alive in 2006. So the error here is massive. Let me show you another one. I'll show you a couple of examples. There are many, but I'm just choosing some. Walami pine, this is a type of tree, pine. It was extinct 150 million years ago. That's 150 million years. Now we moved from 15 to 20, now to 150 million years. Look, it is massive number, right? They thought it is extinct. And they found it, they discovered this Walami pine, discovered alive in 1994. So the gap here is 150 million years. So that is the range of error. And we need to highlight that for people to understand and make up their mind. We are not indoctrinating anybody here. We are putting the facts, and you can check all of these facts and come back to us in discussion. Because these are facts of history that they thought that this Walami pine has been eliminated 150 million years ago and is available in 1994.
Well, thank you, Doctor. We'll take a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like a copy of this episode, please call 714-709-4669. 4300 or email us at info@alkarmatv.com. You can also visit our website at www.alkarmatv.com. Also, you can write to P.O. Box 3610, Seal Beach, California 90740.
Welcome back to What Do You Believe? Doctor, we're talking about fossils and a lot of new information that we want to keep going.
Thank you. Thanks, David. Before the break, we were talking about examples of fossils that they thought it is eliminated or extinct 150 million years ago, and we found them alive in the recent life that we have in 1994 with Walami pine. There is another example, it's called coelacanth. Coelacanth is a type of fish, and they said it went extinct with dinosaurs, that means 65 million years ago. But they found that the coelacanth was found in Madagascar water in 1938. And it's available now in the market. You can eat coelacanth. So this coelacanth that they thought it is extinct 65 million years ago is still alive with us in the modern life. So we have to reconsider these millions of years of explanation of the past based on the uniformitarian way of understanding. So we have to rethink the facts that we see it nowadays in our life. And we consider the biblical events. I will not say Bible story because it's not a story. It is not once upon a time. It is events that happened in history, and they are facts, and they have an effect on the geology layers and the fossilization. So let me just show you this picture on the screen now. This is called abrupt appearance and stasis. That means in the layers, there is abrupt appearance of animals, complete, without intermediates, and stasis that stayed in the layer and some other layers above it without change. So this abrupt appearance and stasis is working against the evolution theory in big way, according to Darwin himself. He said the geological column, or geological history, does not prove his theory at his time about 200 years ago. And he was expecting when we discover more and more and more, we'll be able to confirm his theory. Since 200 years, we discovered more and more and more in fossil and in the layers of the earth, the crust of the earth. But it actually showed abrupt appearance and stasis of these creatures. That goes with the creation model. God created according to its kind, according to its kind, according to its kind. Within the kind, there are changes. The global flood of Noah buried many, many millions and billions of these creatures, and that's why we found them complete, in stasis, without change. And that is really goes to support the biblical view of creation. Creation after their kind. That's exactly what it says. When we examine the fossil record, we discover their abrupt appearance. In order for the creationists to start explaining the abrupt appearance, they came with punctate equilibrium. Punctate equilibrium meaning the evolution was slow for a period and then jumped quickly. So it formed complete creatures and then slowed for a bit of time. There is no evidence of that. This is an assumption anyway. So we have really to rethink what we have been learning all our days. Because if you speak to anybody and say fossilization, say, oh, millions of years. No, we need to think that again and compare it to the facts that we are sharing together now.
Okay. Doctor, I have a question here.
Sure.
Just came up to my mind
Sure.
while you were talking.
Yeah.
The videos, and you have said that dinosaurs has distinct during the flood, right?
No, I didn't say that.
You didn't say that.
No, I said there are fossils from the flood.
Okay.
But there are dinosaurs in the ark. You will be surprised.
There was dinosaurs in the ark.
Yes, we'll come to that in detail.
Oh, okay.
And these dinosaurs, and see how big dinosaurs can enter the ark. We'll talk about that in detail. The reason I'm saying that in the book of Job, which is one of the oldest books in the Old Testament, in chapter 40 from verse 15, the Lord is talking to Job and telling him about a big animal. And this description of a big animal is like Brachiosaurus. So Job had seen dinosaurs. You say, oh, has man seen dinosaurs? We'll come to that in detail when we talk about dinosaurs.
Okay, so
Yes.
Where are they now?
They were extinct
Why?
because they were extinct. Like lots of animals have been extinct.
All of their species.
Yeah, it can happen.
Okay, okay,
And there are many, many, many. It's not only the dinosaurs.
okay.
Do you know the most common cause of any animal to be extinct is if they catch lots of it and kill it. But when you say that happened with dinosaurs, you say, oh, man never lived with dinosaur. But we don't know why it was extinct, and nobody really knows. There are
Nobody knows.
theories. We can come to that. We'll talk about dinosaurs in detail.
Okay.
Definitely.
I mean, nowadays there's a lot of animals that we try to protect because they're gonna go extinct unless
Exactly.
we take care of them.
Exactly.
So it's still happening till today.
But this is not the only reason that people hunt some, like the climate change, the causes the distinct of some species and
Yeah,
stuff.
there are plenty of causes. Definitely, you're right. Yeah. Right. Let's come to the flood because that is now we have established the flood is essential to understand all of that.
Right.
So let us see if it is a local flood, universal flood, how forceful it is. We have really to examine it proper because this is the crunch now. If we get the flood right, we'll understand what we have discussed in a clearer understanding. So there are many views about the flood of Noah. But one of them, the first one, is historical global catastrophic flood, as we can see on the screen now. And that's the biblical position. And we'll see if it's true or not. We'll examine all of that. There's another theory. It is historical. It happened, but it was local, limited to the Middle East area. That's another view. And we'll discuss if that's valid or not. And then there is another third view, which is, yes, it's historical, global, but it was a peaceful, quiescent flood. And you laughed because this is, again, it's the word of flood. If it is flood, it has to be catastrophic, really. But some people, these are very...
It has to be a disaster.
Exactly. So very few people, and now not a lot of people talk about it anymore. The fourth one is a myth. This has never happened. It was just a story, and it is written in many, 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 many cultures. So it could be people's imagination, a myth. And we'll come to that as well. Let me just explain why we have the story of the flood, which is distorted in different civilizations. According to the Bible understanding of the whole issue is, there was creation, corruption, that sin entered the world, and then catastrophe, the flood, and then the Tower of Babel. After the Tower of Babel, the Lord divided the languages of these people, and they went to different parts. So they went to different parts with having the same events that they were told when they were in Shinar land, in the land Shinar, which is the Iraq area at the moment. So when they went away from Shinar and they went to other parts of the world, they start to develop their own culture. So they start to mix the events of creation. You have creation story in different cultures as well. You have flood story in different cultures, and some people believe that, yeah, there was a righteous man who was saved by the flood. And so you get some truth, but it's all mixed. And now we need, the question is, which is the true and which is a myth? And we will come to that as we progress our discussion. So we'll talk about Gilgamesh, and we'll talk about the other civilization in detail. Right. I'm just giving the full picture first, so we know what we are doing together, okay? Right, let us come to the first description, which is the Genesis 6 to 9. And this is historical, according to the Bible. It is historical account, not a myth or legend. So it is historical because Noah, according to the Bible, is a historical figure. This is the genealogy of the Lord Jesus Christ, and we start here with Adam, Sheth, and we come to Noah. So Noah, according to the Bible, was a real person, and we can trace his parents. His father is Lamech, his grandfather is Methuselah, and Methuselah really died in the day of the flood, when the flood came, and Methuselah really lived very long time, according to the Bible, 969. So that's very accurate. It's not just an estimate. It's not 970, 75. It is accurate figure. And that's how we should deal with the documents of the Bible. So Methuselah actually lived, and during Adam's time, Adam lived 930 years. So Methuselah saw Adam, and Methuselah was a link between Adam and Noah. So the events of creation, nobody had seen creation, nobody has seen the week of creation. So that was revealed to Adam, given to his descendants, and the descendants with eyewitness account kept the events clear and pure and given to Noah. And Noah entered into the ark and came out of the ark and kept the information pure. Then we have Moses, and Moses spent 40 days with the Lord to confirm these events of Genesis. But that's another big topic. We will address that just by the way, really. Now, let us come to the flood traditions. And this diagram in front of us tells us the one in green, which gives nearly full biblical representation. The one in red gives partial representation of the story or the events of the flood. So you find in all these civilizations, you find there was transgression of man, the people were wicked. You find that there is divine destruction of the world. You'll find there is a favorable family. They keep changing the name of the person and the number of people in and all of that. They talk about an ark, and there is different designs of the ark in different cultures, and we'll come to that. There is destruction by water. None of them speaks about fire, for example.
Or thunder.
Or
thunder or something.
Or thunder, yeah. It is water, yeah. And then the human were saved in these events. Animals were saved. Universal destruction. Landing on the mountain, and they differ on the mountain that they landed. There were birds sent out. Their survivor worshipped the God, and the divine favor for the survivor. That's the covenant that God made. So all these components are there in all these different civilizations.
Well, Doctor, we're going to keep going with the flood for
Yes.
next episodes. Thank you guys for being here.
Thanks.
C.S. Lewis said, "You never know how much you really believe anything until its truth or falsehood becomes a matter of life and death to you." So please take your time today and ask yourself, what do you believe? Thank you for watching.